Welcome to our Sunday special segment. As Nigeria commemorates 57 years of her independence, Jokeli Jadu takes a look at the journey it has marked her made her mark to nationhood.
46 years after the northern and southern protectorates were joined to form a nation, in what is popularly referred to as the amalgamation of 1914 by then colonial governor Lord Frederick Lugard, the Nigerian state reached a milestone on October 1st, 1960, when the British Crown eventually agreed to lower the Union Jack in favor of Nigeria's green-white-green.
From October 1st, 1960, your future will be in your own hands.
Independence was hard fought and hard won. It was the culmination of decades of agitations by the nation's leading lights of the era, who insisted that native Nigerians needed to have not only a greater say, but exclusive say in their own affairs. Herbert Macaulay, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, Samuel Ladoke Akintola, Anthony Enahoro, Nwafo Orizu, and others were notable in the struggle, which by 1954 had massed into a great wave of nationalism sweeping across Africa. On the 27th of October that year, Britain capitulated from its initial resistance, agreeing that Nigeria would become an independent state on the 1st of October 1960. Following our independence, Nigeria received a constitution for the Westminster-style parliamentary government, and power was granted to the country's three regions, namely Northern, Eastern, and Western regions. The federal government received exclusive powers to be in charge of defense, foreign relations, and commercial and foreign policy. A 1959 election held in readiness for independence saw the Northern region lay claim to a giant share of the 312 parliamentary seats, the Eastern and Western region claiming a smaller share. The first independence national government was presided by Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Nigeria's first and only prime minister to this day. In October 1963, Nigeria became a republic, and former Governor General Nnamdi Azikiwe became the first Nigerian president.
I'm supposed to be a constitutional head of state, and I'm referred to as other constitutional heads of state as father of the country. And we have proved that an opposition can exist in Africa and also succeed.
At the time, various agitations and ethnic and religious tensions caused by the huge disparity in the economic and educational developments between the South and the North had been set in motion. In 1966, a group of army officers comprising mostly southeastern Igbo overthrew the government, killing the Prime Minister and the premiers of northern and western regions.
The federal military government in Nigeria has taken over the administration of the country. Functions of the federal military government will be exercised by the Supreme Military Council, and details of which will be announced later.
With that coup recording only partial success, the nation's army chief took over the reins of government, but Aguiyi Ironsi's attempts to replace the nation's federal structure with a unitary system led to disaffection in some quarters. A counter-coup came within months, in which General Ironsi was killed along with other officers of the then Eastern region. But the nation was by then already teetering on the brink of crisis. It became increasingly difficult to calm ethnic tensions which had gained ground, as rioting broke out in the north and dissatisfaction led to another coup. General Yakubu Gowon became head of state after the nation had gone without a leader for some days. The new head of state sought to reverse the killing of thousands of Igbos in the north and caused their return to the east, where agitations for secession had already started gaining grounds. In May 1967, Lieutenant Colonel Emeka Ojukwu, military governor of the eastern region, became the leader of the secessionist movement. He declared the independence of the eastern region to be called the Republic of Biafra. This led to the Nigerian Civil War, which official accounts say left 2 million dead after 3 years of fighting between 1967 and 1970. At the end of the war, Major General Philip Effiong, the officer administering the Republic of Biafra, led the Biafran surrender at Dodan Barracks in Lagos before head of state General Yakubu Gowon. In a fencing-mending overture, General Gowon gave the famous "No victor, no vanquished" speech.
We have fought a long, bitter battle, and it has ended in a victory for common sense, victory for the unity of this country.
The nation's fortune took a turn for the better in the post-war era, witnessing a marked increase in foreign exchange earnings, aided by increased oil prices in the global market. But with General Gowon postponing the nation's return to civil rule without any reason advanced, his government was toppled.
Nigeria has been left to drift.
On July 29, 1975, General Murtala Mohammed, along with some officers, staged a bloodless coup, while Gowon was on an official trip to attend an OAU summit in the Ugandan capital, Kampala. The new leader promising a return to civil rule, but his reign was cut short following his assassination in an abortive coup on 13 February 1976. Mohammed's Chief of Staff Supreme Headquarters, General Olusegun Obasanjo, became the head of state. Obasanjo pledged to carry on with his predecessor's plan to restore democracy in 1977. Work commenced on a new constitution. Electoral activities, including a new constitution, were put in place. By 1979, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, the winner of the elections leading up to the Second Republic, was sworn in. He became the second elected leader of the country, only that by then the nation had adopted the American-style presidential system of government. He was elected president on the platform of the National Party of Nigeria. He won re-election in a widely disputed poll held in 1983 due to widespread rigging and violence. In December of that year, the military again overthrew the government, drawing the curtain on the Second Republic. The nation's new military dictator was General Muhammadu Buhari, who was ousted in a palace coup led by General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida on August 27, 1985.
We have come with the strongest determination to create an atmosphere in which positive efforts shall be given the necessary support for lasting solutions. For matters of the moment which require immediate resolution, we intend to pursue a determined program of action, and indeed future generations have no other country but Nigeria.
Babangida promised a return to civil rule by 1990 and later shifted it to 1993. Only two political parties, the Right of Center National Republican Convention as well as the Left of Center Social Democratic Party, were allowed to operate in the process that was to culminate in the nation's Third Republic. The historic race for the presidency in 1993, which took place on the now fateful June 12 date, with 14 million voters registered, featured the SDP's billionaire businessman Basharun Moshood Kashima Wolawale Abiola and his rival Alhaji Bashir Tofa of the NRC. Experts have adjudged that election the freest and the fairest in the nation's history. As results trickled in, it was clear that the SDP's candidate had secured an unassailable lead. But General Babangida's annulment of the results reverberated negatively across the country, stoking riots, widespread looting, and loss of lives. In the wake of continued unrest, General Babangida, apparently reading the biblical writing on the wall, famously stepped aside on August 26, 1993, handing power over to an interim national government led by Ernest Shonekan, with another election scheduled for 1994 in view.
I accept the challenge to serve as the head of the interim national government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Today's historic event testifies eloquently to our enduring capacity as a nation to fashion out our solutions to problems arising from our peculiar circumstances.
But the political fragility that appeared to have enveloped the times kept its firm grip on events, as in less than 3 months from Babangida's departure, the defense minister, General Sani Abacha, struck on sitting the interim government. Abacha's initial acceptance and legitimacy soon gave way to popular discontent following its dissolution of whatever vestiges remained of democratic institutions. Aggrieved politicians and leaders of thought, mainly from the nation's southwest, formed the National Democratic Coalition, insisting that the acclaimed winner of the election be sworn in as president and all proscribed democratic institutions be restored. The Abacha administration clamped down on several pro-democracy activists, earning for itself the worst record on human rights by any Nigerian government to this day. General Abacha shunned every agenda for democratization. In 1995, the regime accused some military officers and civilians of planning a coup. In particular, General Olusegun Obasanjo. A few others were sentenced to death by a secret tribunal. But Abacha's death changed things. General Abdulsalami Abubakar, who was chosen by the military council to take over as head of state, commuted the sentences of Abacha's victims, released all political detainees, and commenced the journey to the fourth and present republic. It birthed in 1999 in an election that saw General Olusegun Obasanjo emerge as president, defeating his rival, Chief Olufalaye. Once in power, the Obasanjo administration was burdened with the task of unity and recovery of stolen funds. He won re-election in 2003, serving his term until 2007 and left office following a failed bid to elongate his tenure by a third. Umaru Musa Yar'Adua succeeded Obasanjo in a highly rigged general election. His tenure was short-lived on account of ill health. The reins of leadership then fell on his deputy, Goodluck Jonathan, who eventually contested for the office himself in 2011. Jonathan won the election, but his record in office was tainted by crises in the nation's northeast, where the so-called terrorist group Boko Haram kidnapped school children, executed suicide bombings, and kept territory for the declaration of a caliphate. Jonathan's government also came under severe public criticism over revelations of high-profile corruption, although the courts are yet to convict any accused person. His bid for re-election was not successful in 2015, as Nigerians pitched tents with one of our former military rulers, General Muhammadu Buhari, who ran on the platform of the opposition All Progressive Congress and promised to end insecurity, fix the economy, and fight corruption. Nigeria's journey into independent nationhood began here at the Tafawa Balewa Square on Saturday, October the 1st, 1960. At the time, it was known as the race course. 57 years later, the Nigerian nation has weathered many storms, including a civil war, 29 years of military rule, militancy in the Niger Delta, Boko Haram insurgency, and most recently, agitations for secession by the indigenous people of Biafra group, as well as a national debate for the nation's return to true federalism. Attaining 57 means that Nigeria has come of age. But what it has to show in terms of the welfare and quality of life of its people hardly matches up. Agitations have been loud in recent times for the need to re-engineer the systems and structures on which Nigeria runs. Jokeli Jadu, TVC News, Lagos.